Welcome back to Weird Careers. I'm Eric.
And I'm Dani.
All over the world, people have jobs. And some of those jobs we don't even know exist.
There are professions that we don't know much about. And there are jobs that aren't, let's say, dinner table friendly.
Well, we're here to explore all of that on this here podcast.
We will be interviewing workers from all over the world about their strange and interesting jobs.
That's right, everything from specialized retail to sex work. Plus, everything in between and outside of said box. Oh, and if you're not already, please make sure that you are accompanied by an adult for this podcast. It can get spicy.
Throughout the course of this series, we will take a deep dive into each and every career we stumble upon.
Do you think that you have an interesting job? Maybe you do. Maybe your neighbor does. Maybe your best friend or your weed dealer. Okay, maybe not that last one. But if you do, stay tuned to the end of the show on how to get a hold of us.
On today's show, we have professional video editor, Ellis. Ellis, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Eric and Dani.
We're very happy to have you here. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come in and sit and chat about all the more computer stuff that you do. We're sitting here on a computer talking to you, and this is like your regular 9 to 5 anyways.
It's a little more fun than that, I'd like to think.
Well, and we're going to get into that. But first, before we get into all like the nitty gritty little details of what you do, in a nutshell, can you sum up what you do for a living?
So I mostly do video editing, which involves taking footage that has been shot by a camera person and then putting it into a timeline and putting music to it and sometimes animations and making it look cool and marketable.
Nice.
Now that we know a little bit of what you do, take us back to where it all started. Did you go through any specific schooling?
So yeah, I went to college, and I actually went to college with Eric. Do I call you Eric or ET?
Eric is fine.
Okay, cool.
Season 1 was ET. We're going with Eric this season.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so that's the schooling part of it. And I started off because in high school there was like this dweeby little film festival, and I participated in it. And I think I made one video for the first one, and the student council lost it. And so my friends and I got really pissed off. Yeah. And the next film festival, we made another movie and said, you're showing both.
Nice. Oh,
and so they did. And I was like, okay, you know what? I made two, and I like really enjoyed the process. One was made out of love, the other out of spite. And yet somehow I still love the process either way. And so from that point on, I kind of decided to just kind of keep going with it. And I went to university briefly for film production at York, but it was mostly film theory. So I quit that and then went to college, and the rest is history.
Nice.
You just weren't a fan of like the theory part of it. You wanted to get hands on.
Yeah, big time. And the theory part, it's insane how much that program, most of it was theory based. And I'm going, why the hell is this thing called film production if we're not making movies?
Right. Right.
So I was miserable there. And college sounded like, I don't even know where I heard that college was better, but it sounded way more up my alley and more hands-on. And it definitely was. College was dope. And I made friends there. In university, everyone was just, I don't know, kind of stuck up and kind of has like, a big ego because, it's like like a Canadian renowned film school.
So what kind of video editing do you do?
So it's primarily, I sold out before I could become a struggling artist, and I got right into advertising. So all that stuff that you skip on YouTube, I edit that.
Well, fuck.
But but trust me, I skip ads all the time. So it's mostly advertising, and I love advertising because you can work on a whole bunch of different things in a very, very, very short amount of time. And I've gotten to the point where I'm just kind of like, I'll just churn stuff out. Like it's dope.
Nice.
I love it.
So for those of us who don't know about the editing process, I mean, you and I know very well what the editing process is like, hours and, I don't know, endless cups of coffee and,
and insanity.
Loss of sleep. But aside from all that wonderful stuff, is it just like cutting and clipping video audio, or like using programs or is it just using the programs to enhance the video, or is it like a bit of both, or like take us through,
explain to us that don't know.
reveal the movie magic.
Yes.
I want all of the secrets revealed.
All the secrets. So it is kind of all of the above. It's it's a bit of cutting stuff together, it's a bit of making clips look better via color correction or boosting audio. I also work with After Effects, so I'm working with motion graphics, which is, like I'll make a title fly across the screen, or make a serial blocks, like walk around and, like whatever it is that's needed.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll figure it out. And it definitely does take a lot of time. So you covered that part.
So like you were saying, we pretty much got it done. It takes a long time sometimes to get these scenes edited. So walk us through it. So walk us through a project, for example. Let's say you have accepted a job. Where do you go from there?
So a lot of the time they will give me the footage. If I'm lucky, they'll have pick clips out for me. It's actually fun picking out clips, so I shouldn't say that, but it's definitely, the process will go faster if the clips have been pre-selected.
How do they get the clips to you?
So recently, especially after COVID, I'll get it like delivered to me. They'll courier it over to me.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, right? Fancy.
Fancy schmancy.
Doves will fall from the sky and place it on my front porch.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's always over the top with that agencies.
So you get the footage. It's couriered to you.
Yeah.
Then now what?
And then if I need to select clips, I'll usually go through the footage and select stuff. There's like a script beforehand with the, sometimes I'll get to, do everything from scratch and be super creative, but a lot of the times there'll be a script that's pre-planned by like a creative director or copywriter or whatever it is. And then, I'll put it together. Then they'll then send it back as I'll initially send a rough cut to sort of show them where I'm at. And if there's sometimes music selections that get sent over.
So the music is done after you've done your rough cut?
Yeah, sometimes they'll give me music beforehand as well. It's all stock audio.
Okay.
So it's all, all nice and soulless sounding.
Ooh, yes, very nice. Insert sarcasm here.
There is actually some pretty legit stock music sites.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you prefer then working from scratch or kind of given a guideline?
So I kind of love working from scratch because, I think that it's sort of, both in high school and in college, it's, primarily I got to do a bit of everything.
Nice.
And I love that. And I'm definitely not the best camera person, but I get what I need. And I'm one of those people where I'll get enough footage that it doesn't even matter if it's not amazing cinematography. It's going to look amazing in the edit because there's so much of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so much you can do with raw footage.
Mm-hmm.
Now what program do you use to edit?
Primarily, mostly Premiere Pro, and I've mostly been a motion designer recently, so a lot of After Effects as well.
Very cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So once you've sent now the audio, once you've sent the your rough cut over,
Yeah.
they will then sometimes send a selection of audio over for you to mix in with.
Yeah, or sometimes at that point they'll yeah, sometimes it's that, or sometimes I'll have the track beforehand and just stick it on there.
Okay.
And then from the rough cut, they'll say what they like and don't like, and then I'll make the edits. I find it really depends on the deadline. If we have like 2 weeks to work on it, they'll have like a whole bunch of feedback.
Of course.
And as we get closer and closer to the deadline, there's still a lot of feedback, but it decreases.
So you did mention that you've done some animation, that you've done some animation editing. Now, is it a different process from animation to live action?
Definitely with live action, the motion is already there in the clip. It's existing because the actors the subjects are moving, and but with animation, you're basically creating the motion from scratch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So animation, that they in advertising, at least, they always animation always takes longer than video editing.
Yeah, that makes sense because that's like pre-recorded and you're just mostly cutting the live action stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not like video editing where you're giving clips and then you have to stitch them together. It's more you are now doing the more of the creative process.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's
so
neat.
It is neat, and that's definitely why I love animation, because it's one way you can have a bit more creative control. I find more creative control in post, and yeah.
What parts of the industry have you worked in?
There was one brief little bit where I was doing promos for this paranormal web channel, which was cool. It was like Netflix, but it was all paranormal themed stuff.
Oh, nice.
It was really niche and really weird and like very, very, very low budget. But it was like my first like proper paid job where like I told them the salary I wanted, and they're like, yeah, and like
nice.
Yeah, it was dope. It was weird and like but I loved it.
So I've seen some pretty big names in your portfolio. A few commercials that stuck out to me were for Walmart, Splenda, Children's Tylenol, and even a Mazda commercial. I even noticed that you had stuff in there for Much Music. Is that even still a thing?
Much Music, I think, is still a thing. I haven't had cable in the longest time, but I think the last time I was at a house with cable, I saw Much Music. Yeah. What's cable, right?
What's cable?
It's definitely the thing that plugs into the back of my computer. But other than that, I don't think it's anything. But I think they only play like South Park now or something, right?
Who fucking knows? Who has cable, right?
Right.
I don't know.
Whenever I'm at my mom's place, I take a look. And YTV, because YTV is awesome, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you edit for you've done Much Music, you've done.
Yes, I did. I didn't really do.
Stuff.
I mean, I sort of did little edits for Much Music, but I didn't count that. It was so long ago, and it was very, very minimal. But yeah, like the Walmart, Splenda, Children's Tylenol, which I'm not proud of because I shouldn't be selling drugs to children. And then Mazda, the Mazda one was really fun. And you're probably thinking of the case study for that. So that wasn't actually, case studies are weird. There's like they sort of seem to be something like, I think ad agencies just sort of submit them to awards shows to get, recognized for the wonderful work that they're doing and the consumers that they're providing to the people. So it's sort of like a weird boast, and editors hate case studies. I like love and hate them. I've had really like a lot of fun in case studies, but they're like everyone's really like nervous about them, and they're just sort of like, I don't know. Case studies bring in weird energy. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's fair.
So speaking of the industry, before you got into it or even being in it, do you have anyone that you look up to? Anybody that you aspire to be like in the industry?
So I don't know. Advertising is a bit of a weird one because I definitely don't really idolize, there's no one that I like, see in a magazine. And I'm like, yes, that is who I aspire to be. But there's definitely companies that I've like been interested in working for, or I'll see something cool on TV and be like, whoa, I really want to, do that or something, something like that. So
Like
it's
which ones?
like which ones?
Yeah.
So there's one in Toronto called 3 Jam, and I don't even know how I'm gonna get a job there because they do like a lot of it's really cool stuff. So maybe someday I will get to do.
Shout out to them if they're listening.
I know, right?
What-
I love you guys. Hire me.
Have you ever thought of working for like a big company, like for example, like Disney?
A little bit. I don't know if like that's more. I don't know. Like I'm not that type of animator. Like there's.
True.
It's I'm mostly making titles and
Mhm.
products move across the screen. It's really
Very completely different. So you would say it's
It's not-
like a completely different game.
Yeah, like it's not Disney. I'm definitely not Disney level. It's
Well, I mean, I've seen your editing. It's pretty fucking good, which is why you're here
Well,
with us
thank
today.
Yeah.
you.
Do you have any special interests or hobby that's related to work, but you don't indulge in because you do it for a living all day?
So I definitely don't watch ads in my spare time.
Very fair. Valid.
I don't make movies, but like I don't TV shows. I'm definitely more into like I definitely watch TV shows. So I don't avoid media off work hours, which I probably should because I would get a lot more done. But yeah,
Are you
I definitely
are you like a lot more critical when you're, let's say if you're watching a television show, you're like, oh, that was a bad cut. Oh, I would have done that better.
So not so much editing, but I don't know. I find I'm very critical of like storylines and characters.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like I hate cliche characters. I'm definitely into like TV shows where it's
Mhm.
there's a character that's out of the ordinary, or that's got like a variety of characters and not just some stereotypes.
I remember I was chatting with you the other day because I was watching something on Disney Plus. So Disney put out this Encanto live at the Hollywood Bowl. And my God, the editing was like it was done by somebody in high school. So there's this one song, I guess it's by
Is it the
the
Bruno
Strong
one?
Sister. No, it's not the Bruno one.
Oh, okay.
It's the one where it's like pressure, surface pressure, I think is what it's called.
Okay. I've actually
Anyway,
seen
so
Kanto, but...
so like the lyric, like the music goes like dun dun dun, like it's something's being like cracked. What pisses me off is that they did like the frame went like bum bum bum, and it zoomed in every time that the frame went, like
Oh, geez.
tilted, and I'm like, oh my God, that's no. And I swear, unless it was like a really like deep moment, there was not a single shot that lasted more than 3 seconds.
Oh, damn. That's that
Yeah.
can be seizure inducing.
Well, that's exactly it. I'm trying to focus on what's actually happening, but I can't focus because it's like I can't look to see what's in the background. I don't have any time to focus on the frame because it's just cut, 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 cut.
I want to see this to see how bad it is.
Well, we are just going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Don't turn that dial. We'll be right back. Are the big corporations taking your sales with fancy images that just aren't in your small business budget? Not to worry. At Cardinal Images, they take everything to heart. Cardinal Images is a small business supporting small businesses, so they get it. Check out cardinalimages.ca for their gallery and contact info. Also, if you are a listener of this podcast, you will receive not only your demo images, but your first shoot absolutely free. Just email Eric at
cardinalimages.ca with the subject line podcast promo to receive your free shoot today. Cardinal Images, affordable pricing, professional images, and personable photography. And welcome back to Weird Careers. We are joined by Ellis. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
The pleasure is all ours again. Has there ever been a project that you had to do that you really struggled with, like as on a difficulty level?
Oh man, there's definitely been. I've definitely worked with some very tough people, and that is what will make me struggle the most in the project.
Yeah, how so?
Is because it's, I don't want to disappoint people, and when people are like yelling at you and freaking out, and you're trying to work, it's like,
it's hard to work under that kind of pressure.
It is, and I know in every interview I say I work well under pressure, but like I really don't.
To a degree.
There's under pressure, and then there's harassment.
Yeah,
there's
true.
There's a line. There is a line there.
So yeah, there's definitely been some people that I've worked with that have been very difficult, and yeah, it's a nightmare.
I bet. Is there a project that you finished that you had a hard time getting through, or you just couldn't wait for it to be done because, well, for any reason, whether you're like, this is just so hard, or this is awful, I can't wait for it to be done? Have you ever had an experience like that?
So am I allowed to say which company it was? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Facebook was a nightmare to work with.
Oh.
Yeah. And I got thrown into this project because the initial editor, I don't know if someone died or if he got sick or something. Like, I can't remember what it was, but anyway, they just didn't have an editor for this, and they threw it to me, and it was like a whole bunch of stuff at once, and they're like, "Do you know Figma?" And I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Well, learn Figma because we use Figma." And I was like, "Okay," so I quickly learned Figma, and then was trying to like put this ad together. Anyways, it was all After Effects, and it was in a 3D space. I primarily work in 2D when it comes to animation, and I can work in 3D, but they had all these weird logistics where like the image had to be like in 3D space, but like angled a certain way. And I'm like, when it's like that, it doesn't work. And so anyways, it was a big nightmare. I didn't end up finishing it because there was other projects that I had to work on. And so they sent it off to another editor. Like, they sent it off to a freelancer because it just didn't make sense for me to work on it. And it was just ridiculous, the changes that kept coming in.
Ugh.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it was a little bit out of my scope, to be completely honest. So
well, at least you know what you're comfortable working with. So instead of keep like pushing it off, deadlines and stuff, you're like, it's not a big deal if it's to someone else.
Yeah. And it was all crazy, and I didn't get blamed for any of it because it was just such a shit show of a project. So I'm like, good. As long as I'm not in trouble or fired, then cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that they were at least understanding that way, that you were tasked with an impossible task.
It wasn't impossible. It just wasn't. Just not doable for me at that period in time.
Sure.
But learned a lot.
Not gonna lie, I've looked up some of your stuff and I came across something called the journal. So that was a season-based thing, right?
The journal, it was basically just a little college show that every Centennial broadcasting and film student did, just to like learn the skills of what it was like for live production. And oh my gosh, I remember we took turns doing different roles. And so there was like the technical director, and then the director, and then camera, and then host, and master control, I think, or something like that. I worked terribly as a director, I can tell you that much. And I remember it was Jordan Lineker was my technical director that day. And, I'm good at technical directing because I know the buttons and like, yeah, just me and buttons is what I do for a living. So it's I've just been destined to do that. But anyways, directing is not so much my forte because I'm like relying on other people, and it's like I don't know, like I'm not really good at keeping my calm. I'm better working alone. I might be better now, but back in college. And I was like freaking out at Jordan. I'm like, no, it's camera one, go to camera one. And she would hit camera two. And I was like, and it was just, I don't blame Jordan at all. Like, it was just, I was shitty to work with. And the teacher pulled me aside at the end. And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, so that, and I was like, that was shit. And they're like, okay, listen, you gotta just like chill a bit. Just calm down. Yeah.
I remember there was one time that we were about to do go live for the journal, and we had to stop because a light caught fire. Do you remember that?
I do sort of remember that.
Right? So yeah, a light caught fire, and we were all like, we didn't know it at first, but all of a sudden we're like, what's that smell?
What's that smell?
Something's burning.
Oh my God.
And I can't remember who I think it was Brian that found it.
Okay.
But yeah, because he's the tallest.
So
looked up, and the male and female electrical connectors of the light had fused together. They had melted together.
Oh my God.
And we actually had to delay by 45 minutes.
To fix that light.
to get the light off the grid.
Oh my God.
I remember. Oh man, that was not fun.
Jeez. Holy crap. Oh, I miss college.
Is there any projects in the works now, or where do you hope to go from here?
So right now the projects on the work right now are employment, because I got laid off. Actually, it was like a big all that. Yeah, all these industries laying off people. Yeah, I was one of the victims. So
oh no.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens.
Is that common in the industry to be between jobs, so trying to find work?
I get bored with companies fast, so
it kind of works out in your favor.
It does, and it's like I'll probably freelance for a bit, and
good for you.
I'm on LinkedIn, so I just look for stuff and apply. And it's not.
That is probably where I found it.
Probably.
Okay.
Because I do know a docuseries that could potentially be looking for an editor, I think.
Sweet.
I told you about that, and we're definitely gonna stay in touch.
Okay. Yeah. No pressure, because I get jobs fast, so I'm really not that worried. I'm kind of enjoying the time off, to be honest.
Good for you.
Yeah, there is a YouTube thing that I filmed in November that is just my own personal project. So yeah, it's sort of nothing too crazy in the works yet, but I've got footage that needs to be edited. I can tell you that much.
Hey, there's work to be done.
There is work to be done.
So is there any videos that you've created that you are really proud of?
Which ones?
Really, really, really proud.
Really proud of? Oh man. So I'm like proud, but not proud of this one. So there's one that I did. I worked for this one company that they're like, hey, do you know how to design logos? And I'm like, sure. And they're like, here. And they would just, yeah. And I did design work for them and storyboarding. It was great. It was so amazing, because I just did all the stuff that I really wanted to do, but just didn't really get hired for. And this company was just like, yeah. Anyway, so I did the storyboarding, the designing, and then the animating. And this is the part I'm not proud of, for a pesticide company.
Oh.
So it was amazing, because I got to do so many creative things. It was really,
nice.
I pushed my creative boundaries, and it was yeah, but in the end, I was just so proud of it. I collapsed and cried one day, because I was just so I had worked so hard that day to get this shit done. Because when you're out of your element, you're kind of, you're kind of struggling and learning, and then trying to yeah, but it worked out. I went a bit over budget, but I still got paid. So yay.
Well, of course, the flip side to that is, are there any videos that you're not proud of? You wish you never made them. It was awful. You're embarrassed. I don't want to even talk about it. Is there a project like that?
So I remember, I mean, that like definitely the pesticide one. I'm not proud that I did something for a pesticide company, but I learned a lot. So I really love that project.
Of course.
So you know how like Nestle's tapping into Canada's water supply and selling it off? So
Yeah.
I did an explainer video on why it's like
Oh no.
okay to do that.
Oh no.
no.
Yeah, it was really, it's, like I think it was mainly like, I think it was like a really shitty edited, like I'm pretty sure they just showed it in-house. Like I think it's one of the things where they show it to the employees before they, chain them to their desks or whatever. Yeah, that one, they had, I don't know, all these like flashy words like, eco and yeah.
Yeah, that
just
makes perfect sense.
Eco-friendly and like
Yeah.
and yeah.
So before we go on to our last question, couple things. I want to say thank you so much again for taking the time to join us today out of your busy schedule, just to sit down and talk
busy
about
unemployed schedule,
right? But before we get to our last question, do you have any last advice to anybody who wants to get into the industry?
Just work on as many projects as you can, and just that, like work on short projects before you get into long projects. I'd say, if you want to get into films, do short films first.
No project is too small.
No project is too small.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's, learn as much as you can.
So,
and Google everything.
Google is your friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember when Google was a noun and not a verb.
Right.
So what did you want to do when you were younger?
Well, when I was really, really young, I wanted to be a writer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think I read Harriet the Spy or saw the movie or one or the other. And was like, yes, that is what I want to do. Yeah. And so for the longest time, I like carried a notebook around with me and like,
that's cute.
I wrote down everything. And
you had one of those in college, didn't you? You had a little notebook in college.
I did. And I still sort of do. But like, I'm trying to get back into it, but I could just lose it. And like, I had never lost a notebook in like the 20 years that I had been using notebooks. I had never lost one. And this was the first time. Yeah. So it like traumatized me. And I know it sounds silly because it's like, oh, this like little book with paper, but it's like, no, you don't understand. Like all
your thoughts are in there.
Yeah. But I got a wicked story out of it. So
great.
Which I will tell on the next episode.
And you're kind of still in the industry that you wanted to be in when you were younger. So you're still in the media industry, you're instead of the first part, the writing part, you're at the end where you're doing all the editing.
Yeah. And like later on, I definitely wanted to get into media, and my dad worked in television, so
nice.
I guess I sort of always looked up to him. If that's your that sort of answers your other question.
Oh yeah, that would. If he did it, then yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go.
Well, thank you again, Ellis, so much for coming on the show today. If those interested in, I don't know, maybe hiring Ellis, we'll make sure to have her linked in the description below, as well as any socials that have your cool stuff on it. Thank you again so much, Ellis, for coming on to Weird Careers. It was an absolute pleasure.
It was a pleasure being here. You two rock.
Do you have a cool or interesting job? You never know. Believe it or not, your 9 to 5 may be more interesting than you think.
So don't be shy and shoot us an email at weirdcareerspodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you liked us, please give us a 5-star review on wherever you're listening to us. It really helps us to get seen.
Thanks for tuning in and exploring with us. We hope you will join us next time.
And until then, I'm Eric.
And I'm Dani.
Cheers.
Cheers.